Yeah, that's cool.
Let me do this. Let me get Flora and Aaron, if you don't mind. I think this is her first time on the panel. Flora, what's popping?
I lost my voice, so just give me. I have one thing to add here, and this is where interpreting stats, has to come into the conversation. You can't just like read them out loud. And so here's the issue with what Fantastic is not getting is that it's not about what percentage of Black people are criminals. It's what percentage of murderers or deleters are actually Black, and why would you be comfortable overrepresenting that population? So that's all I had because my voice is like gone, but you have to be able to interpret.
Oh, I don't think it's about being comfortable.
Hold on. Don't start that jumping in shit, please. You didn't even say hello this way.
Well, I always say hello to you last, but what's up, Ham?
Yeah, good job, Playboy.
Can I address it, Ham? I guess
I just wanted to clarify your sentiment, Flora, that you pulled was that you thought there was a comfort level with overrepresenting that.
Yes, because every time it's brought up, the diversion is, oh, well, it's not the percentage of Black people, but it's like, why would you be comfortable as a male group being overrepresented in a statistic about the leaders?
Okay, and who do you think?
Smaller group of this country,
like you said, overrepresentation. So, Flora, who do you think was most comfortable? Because I mentioned the nominal first. So you think it was me, or you think it was me, my Fantastic, and myself?
I mean, in general, I would say it was in response to what Fantastic was saying, because it just sounded very like there was always a diversion to like the whole group of Black people, but we're talking about the people who are actually doing the deleting. Why would you want to be comfortable overrepresenting that group when you're one of the smaller groups of men in this country? And I think that just it's very dismissive, and that's a big part of how Black men are viewed in this country.
So, Mr. Fantastic, let me go first real quick. I see what you're saying. I understand how it can be perceived, because we actually complain when the women do it. Right? Because it could feel or be perceived as a deflection, right? To downplay the fact that we still overrepresent, regardless of how small the murder, death, kills are. Murder, death, kill is murder, death, kill. Right? Go ahead, Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, but I actually addressed that, and I even said I agree with Osa on a lot of those things. But being that Black men are made to be ultra and uber violent when it's not the case. And like you said, this is when you really do need to be more specific, Flora, like you said, about the rate, right? So you have a smaller percentage of something, you're going to account for a larger rate just off your numbers alone, right? So when we really get down into it and you start looking at the numbers, okay, in comparison to, that is important, because again, now it takes away from that narrative that the majority of Black men are violent. That's why you have to get down and say, no, okay, well, there's 8,000 deletions, and there, let's say it's 6,000 perpetrators. Again, now you have to divide the 6,000 by the 20 some odd million Black men that are there. That's less than 1% of Black men are violent. That's what no one ever says. Everybody sticks on you guys commit 56% of the murders. Okay, a few bad apples spoiled a whole bunch, and Black men as a whole are always judged by the few bad apples. So no, it's not me dismissing anything. I agree with this, and I'm adamant about Black on Black crime being a real thing. But at the same time, in the sake of Black men, I cannot let this Black men are the abusers, which is not true. Black men are violent crimes and all these different things. But again, there's a small, very, very small percentage of Black men that make up those large numbers. Same thing with the prison population. You put together the criminals and all this other stuff. That's less than 1% of Black men, even at 700,000 of them.
Yeah. So
okay. So can I just respond to that really quickly?
Go ahead.
My point. So here's the issue again, right? You're not really interpreting what we're talking about. You're diverting to the whole group of Black people. We're talking about people who are committing murder, deletion, whatever you want to call it. Right. That's the important stat here. You shouldn't care about how you compare to the whole group. Right. We're talking about how you represent murderers. And if you're comfortable being 13% of the country and representing half of the murderers, there's an issue there, right? That's the culture where we're very dismissive of this violence that's going on in the community. There's nobody checking it really. You're saying it's the small percentage of the community, but you're still in this country, you're the majority of the people who are being processed for it. We can argue, hold on, we can argue that, you know, there are some who are innocent, but how are you comfortable being 50% of the people in this country who are arrested, charged, whatever? When you
I see. So wait, so Flora. So that actually resonates. I understand. It's almost like saying this, Flora. Correct me if I'm wrong. Murderers are their own demographic, right? Essentially, like let's say they were totally different people, like Orange.
Well,
out of the Orange people, yeah. Well, yeah, but,
so
yeah.
that's
So that's a criminal demographic.
Criminals to
and
the general population. We're talking about of the criminal.
But let me regurgitate it.
Two different interpretation conversations.
Yeah, so let me regurgitate it, right? Because that I understand. So demographic is criminals, right? Demographic is murderers, and so in that demographic, we overrepresent, and we don't even got enough people to do so. So you are also separating them from the good people. You ain't even saying that, but you're saying murderers are murderers, and more than majority of them are us doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So when are you ever going to be able to stop a murderer from murdering? That's what I'm saying. And that's what it goes back to what I said and what I told Osa. It's only two things that stop criminality. It's the 3 C's. You have culture and you have consequences. Black people don't have the culture, and they're not willing to back the consequences to get these niggas off the street. Y'all still complaining about the 94 crime.
What are we talking about that we don't have culture? Because I'd argue that we have a negative culture now, right? It used to be positive, and at some point it became perverted into this rap, pimp, whatever type culture. And that's where now you're comfortable being 50% of the people in this country who are convicted, whatever, of murder. So I think that's a cultural issue right there that you should be focused on versus saying we just don't have a culture.
Well, let me address this for the first time. You say
being violent.
Well, just let me address this for the first time. You keep saying I'm comfortable. I'm not comfortable. I'm a realist. It's called acceptable losses or something that's just going to happen.
Real quick, Mr. Fantastic. I think what happens to your points is though you name so many reasons why they almost miss the point itself. Because you'll be like this and then this and then this and then this. Just like use one of the examples, and I think we can grasp it more.
Okay. Well, I like to call, like, I think things from a military, what's the name, right?
Yeah, I got you.
Military strategy. Okay. You go into the battle, you know that you're going to lose X amount of people just off the strength of the numbers, right? You set up and you plan for those numbers. Unfortunately, that's what Black people have. Until we do something to change from our cultural, our legal, our just mental standpoint of how, stop snitching and all this other shit and get rid of that is never going to change. So it's just something you have to deal with and live with, unfortunately.
Shouldn't your focus be on changing your comfort levels with the violence? This is why I say comfort, because you're saying, hold on, because you're saying, let's just deal with it. But I'm saying you sound very comfortable with being a very violent population because you're saying, let's just deal with it. Why isn't your approach, let's change it?
I literally just said we need to change it through consequences and culture.
We're going to just have to deal with it. That implies that you're going to stay there.
No, so that implies that
of your words.
Hold on, well, let him go ahead and address that last point, because that was because if it's fantastic, I heard the same thing. You ended with deal with it, so that's what she like. Well, why is that the last sentiment?
Because it's the reality of the situation. What is it? Department of Motor Vehicles is going to tell you there are going to be 225,000 vehicle deaths per year, bro. That is just unstoppable. That's what trends. This wonderful thing about stats and statistics is that trends and there's numbers. You have to accept the numbers, and that's what a lot of people you get emotions and things to these numbers when the numbers just are what they are. Until the numbers change. Again, I'm not trying to put an emotional attachment into this. Okay, I've been living
vehicle crash and murder. They have the same level of preventability or whatever you want to call it. You think a vehicle crash can't be changed, and so the rate of murders in our community can't be changed either? Because a vehicle crash a lot of the times can be just a moment's dance, right? It can be a coincidence. It could be just 3 coincidental moments that came with vehicles colliding. And you're talking about a cultural crime rate, and you're saying that can't change. It's stagnant in the same way. That's something that can happen to anyone at any moment. So I'm just asking, how do you correlate those two things?
I'm
All right, so hold on. Y'all been going back and forth a little bit. I just want to get Aaron in. Yeah, well, Aaron been waiting. Now he been chilling. If he wants to concede, you sway quickly, but I think he kind of been waiting because I also want to catch his drift on what Flora is saying, because that I'm disheartened by that logic. Not saying Mr. Fantastic logic is off, but if he's right, that fucking sucks that we can't change it because trends are trends. That is disheartening. So, Aaron, what are your thoughts on that? Sway not that long-winded, but you never know.
DJ Ham, greetings, ladies of the panel. How are we doing tonight?
Salute.
Thanks. So I think real quick, we got to stop using the word comfort. I don't think we're comfortable with things being the way they are. I think in order to cut a head off a snake, you first have to identify where the head is, and then you have to sharpen the knife before you swing it. Meaning you have to empower those who are capable of stopping the madness. So how you would do that is putting more emphasis and energy in those who are doing the right thing. Incentivize them, right? Empower them to be able to stop the madness, right? You feed the dog that you want to grow biggest. If you have a bad dog, you starve his ass. And if you have a good dog, that's the one you feed, all the food. So I think we're already putting too much energy into something that we don't have any real plan on the stopping. The plan is found in the large number of people that are actually doing the right thing. The people that are committing these crimes are nominal percentage-wise, but the crime themselves are not to be looked at nominally. I will grant you that. That's nothing to be comfortable with. But you're going to be you're going to be on this carousel of questioning all night long if we don't start feeding the dog that's actually capable of biting this other motherfucker's head off.
Well, I said it could be.
Or before you respond, let me read these super chats real quick. I'm way behind on these shit. See, this pals with the $5 says 9, and then you know what? What I want to do is I heard what Aaron said. Before you reply, I want to hear what Sway, because I think he had a reply. And then you can, you know what I mean? See, damn, I said y'all mean Caprice.
You know what that means, Ham? Part of the undercurve of the bad black.
And you got on a baseball cap,
bringing the curve down.
See, this palace with the $5 says 9 in 10 Koreans identify domestic abuse as perpetuated by men against women. They make more money, but beat the hell out of their partners. So you decide. Matt P with the $5 says if this is the truth, this hurts. LOL. Fuck these stats. Black men winning. Have a good show, ladies. Dating Pool gave us a C+. Snuggles with the $2 says, what does it mean to dress black? Like that. Like I'm dressed, Snuggles. Do Better podcast with the 20 ball. What up, Coop? Hey, watch your video you put out earlier. The panel of ladies said 50% of black men were gay with a straight face. Then acted as if they couldn't understand how that was insulting, even after you explained it. Brother. Yeah, man, that was crazy. HQ with the $2 average, but little below average. Okay, far grade. Crucifixion of the limp god. What the fuck is that? Niggas be doing too much, man. Who is this person?
Way too much.
I don't like that. That's like I don't know what that is, but
they're trying to scam you. I think like block. They need to block.
I'm gonna block that person. I don't like that.
Block them.
I don't know what that was. All right. Rasta with the $2 says Mr. Fantasy, 22 years, 91X here. DD 214 Club.
Oh, okay. I know what they're saying.
Flora with the $5 says 60% of black people were married in the 1960s. What changed? We're gonna get this question answered. I think that's Aaron pushing at that a little bit in terms of his response. HQ with the $2 says the skew is built in, and the numbers are the numbers. Okay, this is a curve. Snuggles with the $2 says explain the meaning of simp and intelligence. The dating pool with the $2 says black men are the least influential, which makes a C+ valid. Enos with the £5 says Osa and Love on the panels is giving me the Fannie Williams and Prosecutor Nathan Wade vibe, brother. Oh, brother. Damn. Osa, we almost put you in the bathroom. Martin Luther King with the $5 says no one's talking about over policing when it comes to violent crimes. Non-violent crimes like drug use. The disparity is clear. Shout out to Valerie, became a member. Appreciate you. Martin Luther King with the $2 says dude came up and said absolutely nothing. Snuggles with the $2 says, is savage synonymous with intelligence? Snuggles with the $2 says, what does it take to make a slave? What do Snuggles be talking about? Sway with the $2. LOL. This man also is a walking talking point. Ignorance. Caesar's Palace with the $5 says, oh, so you can't bring up made up stats about unknown grapes or murders. What the F? You in your feelings, G. Stay with what you know. Believe all women guy over here. The experience was popping with the $5 says, I don't know any killers and have not killed anyone. I'm not wearing that. Martin Luther King with the $5 says, I see why Osa and Love are together. Ellipsis. Y'all are a perfect match.
Thank you.
Enos with the £2 says, shut up and listen, Osa. God damn.
Brother.
Sean Brewer with the $2 says, black women leads in murder pound abortion. TBE Trucking with the $2 says, okay, we found our sassy brother of the night. I'm just saying 9910 was popping with the $2 says, they don't report non-quote unquote hood murders. Sway with the $5 says, why should dying from heart issues become common from 18 to 35? Young people die from non-conventional means. Address Hamp's point instead of the propaganda. Zagu was popping with the $2 says, Osa interrupt more than the ladies. Did it to Hamp. Damn, man. Martin Luther King with the $2 says, love is Osa a sassy man.
Don't worry about it.
Bread and butter with the $5 says, in fact, that all poverty areas generally produce more crime and violent crime, regardless of the primary ethnic group in that region's poverty area. And they put Flora in the bathroom.
Put him in the fucking bathroom. Get him out of here.
Flora. Yeah, put her in the
Okay,
bathroom.
good. So, Flora, I'm gonna bring you back in 10 minutes. So, Normal Nerd said,
Put him in the fucking bathroom. Get him out of here. Come on.
Callie Bev, what up? With the $2 says, breakdown of black women percentage by population next, right? I don't know. We didn't do without we did we? I don't think we went there. I'm just saying with the $2 says, Frank shoots Jim over crystal meth, not reported. Really? Jeremiah with the been a member for a month. What's up, Jeremiah? Says the Sway got clear coat on his fingers. If you watch the stream from earlier, the Dayton Pool roast reaction with the $5 says our stats are worse since we have such a small population, yet biggest numbers than others is Osa's point. Yeah, well, you mean biggest percentages, right? Snuggles with the $2 says which gender feels, which gender thinks. T.O. with the $5 says, is Flora actually trying to have a conversation for once? You must have started your exorcism process. Flora was talking. Jeremiah Johnson with the $5 says, here is a stat. 98% of me watching this show is appreciating Miss Rowe. 2% is the subject. We are moving away from the woman's POV. Miss Rowe, bless him. The Dayton Pool with the $2 says, Fan 824 is interpreting stats wrong. Percentages. No Cupcake Zone with the $2 says 70% of black men are baby mamas. Are you comfortable?
Say what?
He meant black women. He put BM. He meant BW.
Okay. See the Palace with the $2 says fantastic, taking people out in his sleep. Preach. Martin Luther King with the $10 says black women are the most comfortable mating and dating with the worst of black men. Black men are okay with separating themselves from criminals. Ellipsis. Y'all raise them and support the bullshit. Hater Heath with the $5 said the DMV just had stats. There would be less deaths if there were less drunk drivers. We have groups who stop that, but the numbers are the numbers. I'm just saying what the $5 says. Hemp, you need some real niggas talking about nigga topics. Oh shit. Salute the Will. He said, bring Flora back when she come. Oh, there she go. And now she got a $10 credit. Aaron with the $5 says, here are some stats. There are over 600 people listening, and 50% of y'all ain't hitting the like button. Come on, man.
Put him in the fucking bathroom. Get him out of here.
That's the best word stat I heard all night, man. Come on, get the likes up, D. Stanisha was popping with the $5 says, love, I'm disappointed. Is this really what you deal with? Sad you can do better, love. A Normal Nerd with the $10 says, if Flora come back, put her in the bathroom. You not rebranding tonight, Bandita. Well, she had a $10 credit, so she's still here right now. Strike Team Strike Team with the $5. At the end of the day, the stats say y'all still in each other DMs regardless. God, you with the $5 says 0.7% of the population is in prison. Percentages get larger as the total numbers grow. Smaller grows smaller. That's the confusion that seems like needs addressing. You understand what he's saying, Miss Fantastic?
Yeah.
All right, hold on to that. Zag, pause, right? Yeah, pause. Zagu with the $2 says, Love said, don't worry about it. Equals, yeah, he's sassy as fuck.
No, it means don't worry about it because you ain't got nothing to do with him. I'm worrying about him. I'm dealing with him. He all right with me.
Let's go ahead and get this. Let's get let Sway, go ahead.
So I think the biggest issue of when we're talking about the stats Ultra brought up and the conflation is when we make it a representation of black men. I'll give you an example. When we'll argue, say, hey, black men are violent, and we'll say, no, they're not. And then we'll bring up this stat of, oh, well, the 54% of the people who commit murder is black men. But then we're like, okay, but what is that in totality of black men? Then the conflation is that if you're going to say most black men are violent and then use this stat to represent that, you have to use the whole number of black men. You can't just go off of this ratio of a subset of people and then represent that as black men. Because at this point, like the other comment said, you're talking about your brothers, you're talking about your uncles, you're talking about your cousins, you're talking about your sons, you're talking about the men you date that you know have never committed a murder, but somehow use these subset, this 6,000 black men a year as the representation of black men. Now, if you want to talk about them and address that issue, fine, but then you can't use them as an example to prove a point that black men are violent. That's not a point you can bring up. Now, the idea of what Osa said earlier is the median income nonsensical and should just be thrown out. No, because why are you bringing it up? Why did you bring up that other point? The main reason is the intent and why you're actually bringing up the stats. The main reason they brought up those stats is more often than not is how we deal with each other in relationships. Why am I getting with you? What is the future outcomes of our kids? Medium household incomes. They were talking about dating out, marriage, stuff of that nature. So if you're talking about interpersonal dynamics, if you're deciding if you're going to date a Asian man or a black man or Asian woman or a white woman or whatever the case may be, you can look at the average median income of that subset of race of people. That's the main point of bringing it up. So the idea that you can just throw it out because it's a median, no, why are you bringing it up? I thought the point you brought up earlier was just propaganda and a talking point, because more often than not, it just sounds good. But when we're talking about everybody, 6,000 people, 8,000 black men, pretty much less than 10,000 black men a year are committing murders, but somehow that represents millions of us. It represents your sons, your future sons, your grandsons. Any black men in history, apparently at this point, is somehow represented by 8,000 black men. But that makes sense to y'all? Does it? Because I wouldn't do that for women. Personally, I'm not one of the black men here that would somehow take 20,000 black women and somehow represent as another 20 million black women. That doesn't make sense either. But if I can do that, it makes common sense not to go the other way.
Are black women overrepresented? Do we make majority of criminals in any?
But you know, not criminals, but a whole lot of other stats you do. And you have both numbers.
Wait, let me just say this. Let me just say this. There's no benefit in the windmilling, so let's not start just throwing punches. But Sway, in terms of the conversation, there was also on point based on the subject matter at hand. Do we have to address it, even though we know it's a nominal number?
Why are we addressing it?
Well, because
what's the point of bringing it up?
Because
in this conversation,
no need to windmill.
I'm not.
So because we're talking about stats, the statistics, right, in crime. So in the crime demographic, that is something we lead in, right? Okay. And so if you lead in anything, negative or positive, you say positive. How can we replicate this? Negative. How can we eradicate this?
Yeah, but you see how when you checked him about not pushing it as a narrative that it represents majority of black men, he had to kind of backtrack about it. Well, Flora did this whole time was do that in her conversation with you guys.
No, I said we're talking about majority.
I don't need a response from you. I don't need a response from you.
Or let him. Listen. Everybody don't need to be the police. Let me be the police. Flora, do me a favor. Let him finish this point. Sway, make a concise point, then you can respond because he said your name. Go ahead.
Like I said, like the conflation is when you're talking about representing black men, and you're saying black men in generality, and you're conflating the point that they're a violent group of people, and then use this as a point that 54% of people who commit murders are black people, and then you break down how that represents the whole number, because you're using a general statement of the whole number of people. 8,000 people does not represent 16 million black people.
Okay.
16 million black people. It doesn't.
Okay. Go ahead, Flora.
So my point wasn't to talk about black people in percentage compared to black people who are committing murders. I made a specific point that this was about of murderers. I've said that like probably 3 times since I've made my point. I'm talking about of criminals. Black men are overrepresenting the violent criminals, especially murderers. Right? That's the direct point that I'm making. So again, when I say comfort level, I'm saying you keep diverting to all black people and saying, well, it's not all black people. We get that. I'm talking about of criminals. How can you be such a small percentage of the country, but make up such a large percentage of the ones who are doing violent crimes? That's my point here.
The large percentage is 8,000 to 20 million.
Well, no.
Your point to all black people. I'm not talking about all black people.
My question is this. My question is this.
So what are we supposed to do about the criminals, and we're not?
Well, that's not. But Sway, I understand that, but that's actually a separate conversation, which is what Aaron was addressing. But she's saying the criminal demographic.
That's fine.
Criminal.
That's not.
No,
but to represent black.
Here's.
Men,
let me just say this.
Done multiple times.
I don't want to have to remove people for no reason. Let me just say this. She's talking about. We're talking about the criminal demographic. It's not. I'm not laughing.
Well, you're letting her gaslight you because you can.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
She did.
Wait, you fucking it up now. Now you fucking it up for no reason.
All right, whatever.
But here's what I'm saying. She's talking about the criminal demographic. Right?
I'm not crazy.
So I'm saying I didn't say you was crazy.
Well, I listened perfectly.
It's annoying. It's annoying though. You talking while everybody talking. Just chill for a second. So I'm not. I swear to God, I haven't laughed once. Just chill for a second. So what I'm saying is I'm just considering what it is that she's saying. That's all. So she's just saying the criminal demographic. She's taking criminals from every race and making them their own race is how I'm just putting it together. And she says with that race being criminals, she's saying we overrepresent and we're not even enough people to do so. That's what I'm hearing. So that's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm listening to exactly what she said, and I'm not picking out what I'm trying to hear from it. What she has done in her statements is conflated this point to the majority and generalize this to black men. So I'm addressing what she's saying on the internet, not necessarily how you think about it, as trying to compartmentalize what she's saying to you to kind of break down something right from it. I'm actually representing what she's saying verbatim, what podcast does. And what she said verbatim has generalized this stat to black men. And I'm saying when you do that, unlike people like you who give people the good faith and they trying to really understand it for whatever it is and move on, a lot of people will take it and run with it and generalize that stat to black men in conversations. Outside of this space, I've heard it multiple times from Flora and all the other terrorists in this space that will use these numbers to generalize and represent us as black men. As much as you aren't doing that, and we're trying to move that away in this conversation, it is still being used, and I want to address that point. It's used all across these YouTube streets.
And just really important. Listen, now this and Sway's pointing this out, and he kind of has history with this person, so we know what she's trying to do. She's doing exactly what he's saying she's doing. You notice she's sticking to only murdering, right? What was the difference? Love in grapes from white men to black men. That's violent crime, isn't it? You see what I'm saying, Ham? It's literally no. She's even trying to corner it to the point of where she know black men leads. One of the very few, that and robbery. When you combine black men with robberies and it doesn't add up to white men and grapes. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So Flora, let me ask Flora a couple questions. So Sway, I understand what it is you coming from. I understand what you're trying to do, because you're saying the truth matters. Compartmentalizing can that way I can understand the point, but what's the actuality? So Flora, do you agree that this small percentage does not represent black men's behavior overall?
Of course not. My point,
Okay.
and the only point I'm
No,
making.
no. I got a couple questions. So okay, so that's cool. Let's let that marinate for a second. When you look at crime as a whole, what does it actually break down to? Love. Like, what do you, Flora? What do you say about the sexual crimes that white men are committing? You want them to hold themselves to the same standard in terms of that?
So that tells me that the issues that we're having is violence, right? So violence, specifically deletions, right, in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if we're looking at gang violence and the fact that men are the main ones committing it, it wouldn't be surprising to me that the main crimes that Black men are over committing are violent crimes that are happening among men, right, versus sexual crimes, right?
That's a violent crime. Hold on, you. That's a violent crime.
You're not
Sex
going
crime
to
is a violent crime.
Whoa.
If your issue is a cultural issue amongst men, and men are more likely to delete each other than they are to grape each other, then obviously it's a fair point to say that Black men are specifically going to overrepresent in the place where they have the biggest cultural issue, which is the violence in men's culture. So
yeah, that's not true. She's not answering your question.
I keep reiterating that so that we don't think I'm talking about all Black people. I'm talking about specifically of the violent people in this country. They happen to be Black men, and it has a lot to do with the crimes that they're specifically committing amongst each other that have to do with the culture, right? Gang violence is not going to be necessarily mostly sexual crimes. They're going to be deleting each other. That's more likely to happen amongst that population versus graping each other. I mean, are we saying that they're going to
be a woman saying, so we have a woman up here saying that grape isn't a big deal, that grape isn't violent?
No, I'm not saying rape isn't a big deal at all. I'm talking about a specific population, and the specific crimes that they're committing says something about their culture.
Okay, so what is it? You didn't answer Hamp's question.
More likely to do to each other is deletion than grape. You're more likely to shoot each other than you are.
All men are. So all men are. Like you said.
Okay.
All men are. So it's
all right. So one. Let's do this. Maybe I do, because I like to understand what it is people are saying before I blow it up, and I like to ask clarifying questions. And people often blow their own points up if you ask the right questions. But when we cut her off, now it's like, well, damn. What merit does it have for her to be cut off in the first place? So, Mr. Fantastic, you want to go ahead and rebuttal it?
Yeah, listen, she didn't answer your question. You asked her about the white men and grape, right? Which is again 6 times the numbers, and then that's not even counting. So we just counting grape, Hemp. Now remember, even though Black men have a larger percentage, it's like 54 to 48 or whatever. It's not that big of a gap. So now you have to also add in the grapes, which they're like 80% more than Black men are. Plus that she keeps focusing on Black men because her thing is to make Black men violent.
Question. Hold on, Flora. Question, Mr. Fantastic. But the FBI, why do they have the grapes broken out from like the other violent crimes? Is it broken out on those stats?
No, it's in violent crime. They go through all robbery, murder, everything. They do
it's all in violent crime.
Yes, those are violent crimes.
Have specific numbers for each
one.
On.
And we telling you, do you know the numbers? Do you know the numbers?
For armed robbery, they have.
Do you know the numbers though, Flora? Do you know the numbers, Flora?
I would have to get very, very specific, and you're having an issue with specifics in this.
What we're telling you is this. Outside of my bad.
Well, I'm just saying that the professional YouTubers, man, y'all be so. Mr. Fantastic, I understand what you're saying when you break them down, but when it goes to violent crime, right? Is that 54% that the number?
No, it's even. No, it's even higher. That's what I'm telling you. It's gonna be even higher. So they don't parse it out the way they do all violent crimes. They do it by that, and then you have to do your individual stats of each when you combine them yourself. You have to do your own math. That's what I'm.
Sorry. So with violent crimes, we are 33%, right? Yeah, I think it's
something
like 30.
That. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, but that's including grapes at that juncture, right? Because it's
that would be including. I think everything. Yeah, we put everything together to be somewhere around that.
Everything. So what I'm saying is it does it. So we're 33%. But with us being entirely 14% of the population, it's still an overrepresentation, what we still need to address regardless, right?
It's still an overrepresentation, but then you have to look at the trends, Hamp. Like you said, just like you go back 10 years ago, The prison population was way higher than what it is. The black man prison population has dropped over time. So there are improvements and things happening. You're not giving black men credit for that. You're just trying to act like everybody's locked up or in jail and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying is when you parse this out and you want to only focus on murders, yes, you're going to win on that. But murders is only one part of all of the violent crimes that classify. Like assault, right? Assault. They're like 80% of assaults.
Let me just clarify a little bit. Let me just keep clarifying. So you're saying that we have been trending downward, right?
Yes. Outside of murders, yes. Overall, prison population overall and other violent crimes, yes.
But we still been catching bodies.
Yeah, still catching bodies.
Okay. So here's what I do with the kids, Mr. Fantastic. Let me just see if this logic makes sense to you. So if my kids, right, not my kids, but like when I'm coaching the kids, right? So if they're not good at taking on the pulling guard from the power, right, but they can pass rush, I'll stop working on their pass rush and start working on taking on the pulling guard, right? So they still have issues, but I'm not focused on the pass rush because they're great pass rushers. Now I hone in on what's still at hand. Does that make sense when she's honing in on murder? If we both agree that we haven't done better with that statistic specific.
Yeah, you can hone in on it, but then you go back to Aaron's point, and it's a much deeper cause. Yeah. Black men themselves aren't the cause of the murder rate. It's a lot of factors that go into that, and it's a lot that has to do again with upbringing and them being raised. No men in the situation, and no respect for men as a whole. The reason why black men are so violent against each other is because black men don't have any love for black men because black women don't love black men. Even the sons.
Because black women don't love you, you guys don't respect each other.
Again, it's culture, love.
Not respecting each other, our culture.
The mother. Let me answer the question. So again, a boy becomes a man, right? So if all a boy sees a woman do to a man is disrespect him, say he's not this, ain't, can't, don't, won't, what is the boy gonna have his opinion of himself? Is that's what he's gonna be in his future?
If a boy's father walks out on him and chooses not to raise him, how's he?
Most fathers don't walk out, love. I mean, most fathers don't walk out, and we went over those stats tonight too.
60% of black men aren't in the home with their children, so
not in the home doesn't mean they're not involved. See, you should have paid attention to the stats. He read those stats.
I said
not in the home does not mean not involved.
Said not in the home though, so I said
okay, but you're saying two separate
their homes and are willing to be away, even if they're financially providing for their children. What impact does that have on the kids?
No, they're involved though. That's what you're purposely
obfuscating. That involvement helpful?
Yes, obviously the men that have fathers in the home is
that's not showing in black men. So that's the point I'm making. If you're still deleting each other at very high rates, do you love each other? Are you being taught to love each
that's other? Trending. That's trends, and then that's a whole other thing. I'm sorry.
Where did that started from? I'm sorry, y'all. Hey, y'all. And where did black men?
Hold on, JP. I got you. I just want to make sure everybody else has just been chilling. Did y'all want to say something? Tell a friend to tell a friend, and we out.